Hi, I'm Jules and welcome to Jules FM. Today I'm doing something a little vulnerable. I'm going back to where it all began, my original voiceover, the first recording I ever made. But here's the thing, those early takes, they matter. They were messy and unsure, but they were honest and it meant that I had started. So in this episode, I want to take you back to the very first time I was in a booth, which I still recall in vivid and a little uncomfortable detail. Because finding your voice isn't about getting it perfect from day one, but it's about showing up anyway. My very first voiceover was for Coles Online. Back in 2000, they had just started offering home delivery service for the big supermarkets. Well, actually, I think maybe even just Coles. And I somehow had been given the opportunity to do one of their very first ads. And I remember loving the outcome, the whole creating an ad and then having it played on the radio. It was so exciting. But the actual first recording was anything but smooth. I can't remember now how it was that I had come about getting this first big break, but I found myself sitting in the waiting room at reception at Fox FM Studios, Southern Cross on Brighton Road, sweating profusely and trying to do my best to hide my shaggy legs. I was so nervous. Then I moved into the sound box at the actual radio station. And it was unbelievable. I could not believe how lucky I was to be doing this. And I remember I was just smiling constantly, not just because I was pinching myself, but also I think pretending I was way more confident than I actually was. Matt Tilley was the radio host at the time, and he was so kind and patient. But I look back now and I wonder if he was actually worried that maybe he would never get the read he needed from me. He and Bag was the name of the producer there at the time, gave me the script and told me the tone was warm and friendly. So I read through the script the way I thought that it should sound. But obviously it was not where it needed to be because they gave me feedback and told me to give it another go. I can't remember how or exactly what the feedback was each time or how many times they had to do this and we had to reread. But I do remember in the end I was reading the script pretty much line by line, getting feedback before and after each take, until I think they finally got what they wanted, which was a good hour later. And I think probably their end product was a lot of cutting and pasting and very time consuming. Usually, just for some context, you would go in, you would do a read. They allow an hour or so, but often, like for me, a take after that would be done in maybe 20 minutes max. So this was a lot of hard work by all of us. Now, I remember I walked out exhausted, I just was so mentally and emotionally spent, but I was also so elated because I had a CD in my hand that had a copy of my very first ad and I was away. I had done my very first voiceover. And I do remember that there was this niggling little voice in my head that was telling me that was probably a lot harder than it should have been and that you may or may not get to work with those two again. But it kind of didn't matter so much then because I was so excited to have recorded my first ad. So I tucked away that little worry and I thought I'll just deal with that one later. When I look back now, I am so grateful to Matt and Bag for giving me that opportunity and also persisting with me when clearly I had very little experience and very little idea about what I was actually doing. I'm also really proud of myself for being so brave with, pardon me, when I felt so nervous. Don't get me wrong, I would love to rewind and nail that ad the first take. But if I had, I'm not sure I would have had the understanding I do now that it's not about having to be perfect, but more just about showing up. We all get to do things that take us out of our comfort zone, that make us anxious and sweat. And I think those are often the things that mean the most to us. The challenges if we accept them, that are going to help us grow and evolve. And this was certainly the case here. We all have to start somewhere, and I don't think anyone is perfect straight up. And this is a lesson I remind myself of daily. You don't have to be perfect, but you need to show up. And if something is a little scary or makes me nervous, then even more so, they are the experiences I need and I want to have. This time round, I'm being brave, stepping into new areas and trying to be gentle on myself when I'm not perfect at something new. My challenge to you is to think back to a time when you were faced with a challenge or you did something and it didn't quite turn out the way you had planned. This time when you reflect on it though, congratulate yourself for showing up and having a go. Courage builds courage. So look for opportunities to face your fears. It will only make you stronger. I would love for you to share what your first not perfect experience was at #JulesFM or tag @jules.fm.podcast. Until next time, remember, big dreams don't begin with perfection. They begin with a voice.